Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for holding this hearing. And thank you for all the panel for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us. I also want to acknowledge and thank Chairman Griffith for his incredible work on the Halt Fentanyl Act, a bill that I'm proud to be a co-sponsor, and I look forward to seeing its passage through the House of Representatives this week. Since the inauguration of President Trump, we have seen President Trump take immediate action to combat the growing threat of illicit fentanyl flowing through our borders. He designated the cartels in Mexico as a foreign terrorist organization and reached an agreement with the Mexican president to deploy her country's National Guard to help stop the transport of this deadly drug into our country. Unfortunately, these positive steps come only a few years after the inaction of the Biden administration. And because of that delay, fentanyl poisoning has risen dramatically, with 7 out of 10 illicit fentanyl pills tested by the DEA in 2023 containing a potentially lethal dose of fentanyl. That's 7 out of 10. And go back just 2 years before that, it was only 4 out of 10. Why would I say only? 4 out of 10 deadly pills. Ray Collin, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the story of your son, Zach. Can you talk about how fentanyl poisoning is distinct from an accidental overdose?
Yes, thank you for the question. So, in my opinion, an accidental overdose is when someone takes something, whether prescribed or not, more of what they were supposed to than the body could handle. A poisoning, to me, means that someone took something that had something in it that they were not expecting. So in our case, Zach purchased cocaine. Bad decision. But the coroner told me that there was more fentanyl than cocaine in his system. So he did not die because he took too much cocaine.
So the accidental deaths that we are seeing because of this poison being mixed in to other street drugs is causing the increase of the fentanyl deaths that we are seeing in the United States. And many of these are fentanyl analogs. Fentanyl analogs laced into, as you mentioned, cocaine that are being created by the Mexican cartels. And they use precursor drugs that are created by the Chinese Communist Party. And those are shipped to Mexico, where the cartels in their labs mix these drugs up and use these pill presses or mix them in with other drugs, as simple as marijuana as well. These are multinational organizations that are sending thousands of pounds of deadly drugs into the United States to kill our friends, our neighbors, our children. Mr. Collin, with all of this in mind, do you agree with President Trump's classification of the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations?
100%. This was something that we brought up at the roundtable about 2 years ago, where that was one of the things that we would like to have seen happen, along with declaring fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction.
Dr. Westlake, as an emergency physician, can you speak to how the continued emergence of new and deadlier illicit drugs make it more difficult for you when you're in the emergency room, which you were just this week, and the patients that come in, do you have to use higher doses to reverse the overdoses that you are seeing?
Yes, thanks for the question, Congressman. It kind of depends. So the Narcan works, and it works well. The problem isn't that there's not a potent enough Narcan, although that may be partially the problem. The problem is that people are exposed to these poisons to begin with, and that's, the prevention of stopping them from existing is critical. I also want to point out one thing, going back to weapon of mass destruction. The fentanyl is more deadly than sarin nerve gas. It's easier to die from sarin nerve gas than from fentanyl. It's the lethal dose is higher in sarin. So it is a chemical weapons-based grade poison.
As we sit here and discuss the threat, the cartels are working. This multinational and described as being a nimble group by the sheriff here, they are working to create cheaper and deadlier drugs to smuggle across our borders. We have a responsibility here in this committee and in Congress to protect our communities from these ongoing and emerging chemical threats. While the passage of the Halt Fentanyl Act will represent a great start, I remain personally committed to combating the production and sale of all of these illicit substances. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.